What's up guys, Tommy here, bringing you a battle against a guy called Jman. And in all honesty, I don't know if he has a YouTube channel or not, but if I find it out, I'll put it in the video description. He leads off with Quillfish. I actually led off with my Drudigan, thinking he'd probably want to lead with his Yan Mega. Most Yan Megas I see tend to be the lead, but he goes to Quillfish just to set up some entry hazards, which is fair enough. And now that I've got the Intimidate, I really don't feel like Dragon Tailing stuff around because of the reduced power and stuff, and I didn't want to reveal that I had Glare just yet because I was saving it for either Crocodile or Yan Mega. So I decided to go in my Vileplume and hopefully get something to sleep with the Sleep Powder. I go for the Sleep Powder, he goes into Yan Mega, which I thought was brilliant, but unfortunately I missed, so he's able to get off an Air Slash on me. I stayed in just because I knew that Vileplume could take one attack from this guy, and although I didn't want to risk missing the Sleep Powder again, I did think I could get some decent damage on this guy with a Sludge Bomb. I luckily do get the Poison Hacks from this as well, and after the Poison damage and the Black Sludge recovery, we're at pretty much the same amount of health, which is good, so I did kind of wonder why Poison wasn't super effective against Bug. I guess I was still thinking of first gen when you could have like a Weedle versus a Weedle, and for whatever reason their Poison Stings would be super effective against each other, even though it would do like minuscule damage. Those were fun, the Weedle versus Weedle battles. I say bring back the glory days of that, but I go into Kecleon just to take whatever attack he has to throw at me, because I wanted to save my Vileplume for later, either to put something to sleep or use an aromatherapy, or both as the case may be in this battle, but take the Bug Buzz reasonably well. I have two special walls in this team for some reason, Kecleon and Vileplume. I've changed around Kecleon since. I mean, I only really put him on the team just to get off some knockoffs and maybe set up some Stealth Rocks, but honestly, I don't think he does anything this game, so poor little Kecleon. He's underrated as a special wall, but honestly, I think there are better options. But anyways, I go into my camera up predicting the Thunder, and he does go for that luckily. Get poisoned unfortunately, but I do cure that up in a second. And why the name Barty, you ask? Goes back to a story my housemate told me once. She told me that her and her mum were walking through a desert once in Egypt or somewhere like that, and she was just kind of walking along, minding her own business, and these two guys came up to her, riding some camels, and they offered to trade that girl for 3 camels, so I can just look at this girl and say, your value is 3 camels, that's that. I thought that was pretty hilarious, but I switch into Vileplume, doing a double switch there, predicting his switch into Quillfish, going to Vileplume just so I can absorb the Toxic Spikes and hopefully get to sleep, and I do luckily. Just about live the Poison Jab because Vileplume's an absolute beast. The reason I chose Vileplume over stuff like maybe Meganium, which generally has better stats and does the same kind of thing, is because Vileplume also has the type advantage of Poison / Grass, so it resists stuff like Poison. Well, it doesn't resist it, but it does neutral damage, and you know, other stuff as well. Grass / Poison is a pretty good defensive type, so that's why I went for Vileplume over something like Meganium. But I go into my no strings here, and this is kind of an interesting Banette set. Banette's a Pokemon I've always liked, but its speed stat really lets it down in terms of being like a physical sweeper, and it doesn't really have very good support moves or defensive stats, so you kind of have to build kind of a novelty set on it here. Mine's kind of a trick set with the lagging tail, and you know, the main purpose is get the lagging tail on something. I was really praying for the Crocodile switch there, I was really thinking he would, but he actually goes into a Zaltaria here, and generally the idea behind this Banette set is once you've tricked something the lagging tail, either you can do serious damage with the Shadow Claw, because Banette actually has like 100 more attack than my main physical sweeper on this team, which is supposed to be Golduck. So Banette actually has pretty impressive attack. So either you do a lot of damage with Shadow Claw, or you can use a Destiny Bond. Like, I was hoping to trick this Crocodile, the lagging tail, and then use Destiny Bond so he kills me off with a Crunch, so I can kill him off as well, because Banette really didn't have that much value compared to his Crocodile. But I predict the switch into Crocodile there, and I go straight into my Drudigan, because I know I can take any attack he has to throw at me. I go for a Glare to cripple this thing, but unfortunately I miss. Then I predict the switch into Altaria, knowing that he wouldn't want to stay in there because he's choice into Stone Edge. And, you know, the Dragon Tail misses as well because I guess Drudigan has eye problems or something. Go to an Optician, you really need it. Doesn't matter too much though, that last miss, because he goes for a Roost and I'm able to kill him off with another Dragon Tail just here, so that last miss really didn't matter too much. I actually get a crit, I'm not sure if that mattered or not though, to be honest, but it's so fluffy, question mark, 5x dies unfortunately for him, but he goes into a Galvantula, and I predicted the Hidden Power Ice, so I go into Vileplume just to see what he was going to do. I sort of wanted to, like, just check in case he wanted to go for something else, and, you know, Vileplume was pretty much useless to me at that point, so he does go for the Hidden Power Ice, and I was so sure that he was choice that I didn't even notice the Life Orb damage he took there. So I go into Donald Duck thinking I'm absolutely safe from the Hidden Power Ice. Luckily for me, he goes for the Energy Ball over the Thunder. I'm really not sure why, but maybe he was predicting the switch into Camerupt, although I don't really know why I'd do that, to be honest, but goes for the Energy Ball, I just about live it, and I go for a Hone Claws here, and now I feel completely stupid, so all I can really do is go for an Aqua Jet and get as much damage on this guy as I possibly can. This is kind of a pretty interesting Golduck set I'm running here. It's got Aqua Jet and Hone Claws, and then 2 other moves, which I'm not going to reveal just yet, because I want to see if I can get a really good game with him, but It's a pretty interesting set, and the Aquajet there does reasonable damage, so I'm pretty happy with the damage he did. And after Life Orb Recall, he's going to be down to the red, so I can easily kill him off with any kind of Sucker Punch on my team, because I got a lot of priority on this team, even though most of them are pretty slow. I go to Kecleon here, thinking I can just live a Thunder and then set up the Stealth Rocks or something, but he actually kills me off in one. Gets a crit, which may or may not have mattered, but, you know, poor Kecleon never got his chance to shine, but I go into Drudigan, who's just going to finish the job, who plays no games, go for a Sucker Punch and kill him off straight away, so I could have done that the turn before, but it doesn't really matter too much. Kecleon wouldn't have had too much use against the rest of his team anyway. He goes into Swallow, and since I know he's going to Protect first turn, I just go for Dragon Tail just for the hell of it. And then on the next turn, I just go for Protect just to stall out a little bit of poison or burn damage or whatever he has. And he has the Flame Orb there, which is fair enough, so I go for Protect. And the good thing about going against Swallows is they're pretty predictable. You know they're going to have Facade and Brave Bird and probably Protect and something else, so there's not really too much in terms of predicting you have to do against a Swallow. But I go for a Sucker Punch just to get some decent damage on this guy. I figured I could live a Facade even after the Guts boost, and Swallow's pretty decent base attack because Drudigan, probably the most underrated Pokemon in RU in my opinion, is really good as a defensive wall, and it has really nice attack stat as well. I mean, this as well as my Banette, this has higher attack than my Golduck, so that just goes to show how offensively based he is. No attack investment whatsoever, but he still beats my Golduck in terms of power. Goes into Crocodile, and I just want to get a bit of extra damage on this guy, so I go for a Sucker Punch. He obviously kills me off with an Earthquake. There was no way I was going to live that. And I really thought I'd lost at this point, because all I have left is Banette and Camerupt. Obviously Camerupt's going to die to a +1 Earthquake from a Crocodile. My only hope is that Banette can just about live an Earthquake, and then get off a Destiny Bond to force the switch into Quailfish. But actually he switches here, I'm not really sure why. Maybe he thought Banette gets Levitate or something, but he goes into Quailfish, and I look like an absolute moron going for a Destiny Bond on this thing, even though it's asleep. But now I decide to switch into my Camerupt because I know that after Intimidate I probably won't be able to kill this thing very easily because Quailfish is pretty good in terms of defense. And I decide to go into my Camerupt, go straight for an Earth Power just to kill this thing off. I didn't want to risk setting up 2 Rock Polishes because although I did kind of play that idea out on my head because I thought that was the only way I'd be able to beat the Crocodile, I kind of didn't want to risk this thing waking up and killing me off with a ×4 super effective Waterfall, so I go straight for the Earth Power, kills this thing in one because Camerupt is, again, Camerupt's a pretty underrated Pokemon. The only thing that really lets it down is its speed stat, but it does get Rock Polish as well, which kind of makes up for that. He goes for the Crunch, he locks himself in the Crunch, thinking that that'd be the only way he'd be able to take down Banette without me getting off a Destiny Bond. And luckily I managed to live this and go for a Hidden Power Grass, which does pretty damn good damage to this thing. I actually thought it would kill, which would have been pretty awesome, but does quite a lot of damage to this Crocodile, and unfortunately I will die to Life Orb Recall. And it looks like it's game over for me, but luckily Banette does have one last trick up his sleeve, which is the Sucker Punch. And luckily I am able to kill him off from this kind of range, so that was a great game, Jman. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you later. Goodbye.